about the place of smoking in the home, particularly when there are young children. We know there's legislation going through in England, Wales and Scotland to stop it smoking in a car with young children. So would it be natural then to say that it should also be banned in homes if there are children involved? Janet, would you go that far?
I think you might want to go that far, but you could never enforce it. And when I read about, I mean, it would be ridiculous. I mean, we've got a hard-pressed police force as it is, so what are they going to do? Be going around knocking on people's doors, saying, I saw smoke coming through your letterbox, what's inside?
No, but
I mean, let's be realistic.
Having said that, Janet, you know, it's a statement if you make something illegal, isn't it?
We can't keep, every time something happens we don't like, pass a new law. We have to find a way to change people's behaviour.
But what about the law that says you're not allowed to smack children? You know, we've stopped doing that.
I know, and I wouldn't say that that's enforceable either. But I think
but sometimes the law changes behaviours in time. It's like drink driving. It's not utterly enforceable. Some people, regrettably, still do it.
People are not going to uphold that law in their own house.
No, they're not.
But the thing is, let's say this little boy or another little boy or girl like them comes to the attention of social services and their health has suffered. And I don't know the details of this one, but, you know, their health has suffered as a result of the parents smoking at home. In that instance, if there was legislation in place, then a prosecution could be brought. Whereas at the moment, because there is no legislation, a prosecution cannot be brought. And if it was, as a kind of landmark case, then that potentially, and I'm only talking through, would be, you know, a wake-up call.
Right. In this particular case, I don't want to hear of any more children being taken from their parents permanently. I would rather see that the parents went through some kind of re-education process to change their behaviour and then get their child back. Well, that is infinitely not preferable to giving up a child to be fostered or adopted. Well, so let's start from that. The best place for children to be is with their natural parents, and let's help the natural parents.
I think that's a huge statement to make, Janet. A huge statement to make. We do not know the details of this case or other cases, and there are instances where it is the best thing for the child to come away.
I just think that smoking...
Let's talk about smoking.
Yeah, but smoking is something that should help people to stop, and passing laws about what goes on in people's homes is not necessarily going to help. We all grew up in homes where our parents smoked. If we, you know, we seem to be getting more and more draconian in our approach to people's lifestyles. We want to fine them for being fat. We want to tell them to do this, that and the other. We've got far too many laws going through Parliament where if you started at school and educated people, it would just produce the same result.
But everything in life, people have to be educated as to the consequences of their behaviour. And if the consequences of their behaviour are harmful to another human being, particularly a child who's not in a position to do anything about it, then is that not what the law is for? I mean, actually, I am divided on it personally.
Just tell me how you're going to implement a law about smoking in cars. I completely agree with. Banning smoking in cars, I completely agree with. I completely agree with banning all smoking in public places. But if you think that it's going to be easy to implement a law where what goes on in people's houses, who's going to implement it?
To be honest, Janet, that's really quite simplistic. Nobody's saying that there's going to be smoking police. It's the fact that the law would be there, and if, as I said, cases come up, then a prosecution should be brought. And that's the way these things work. As Jamelia said, it's like smacking. People don't go around people's houses and say, have you just smacked your kid?
I'm sorry, you're living in cloud cuckoo land if you know.
Okay, all right, for instance,
the smoker's got something into the smoker.
Well, you three make one have a fag, to be honest. To be honest, right, I am the only smoker on the panel, and, you know, yes, growing up, my dad was a heavy smoker, in the car, out the car, in the house, no windows open, blocked. That's where we grew up. Over time, we've realised how bad that is. I am now a smoker. I don't smoke in the house. I go outside because my kids absolutely hate it, and I just don't like it around the kids at all. And I wouldn't go to somebody else's house, even if they said, you can have a cigarette in here. I feel I have to go out. So, yes, the education along the way has worked with me, and it comes down to being a responsible parent. Absolutely. And I think the majority of parents out there are responsible. And once again, I feel that why should all the responsible parents constantly get penalised for all the people who aren't responsible, and you know.
But if you're a
And I think
not
it's a
about
law that if
penalising
you're not going to
adults, it's about children.
Well, then is the next thing going to be, oh, by the way, if your kids are at home at the weekend, neither parent can have a drink either because I can get drunk, because that's really irresponsible too.
Yeah.
Where does it stop?
Well, the
We're
food's
going to have
another
people
one.
living with us soon to help us be parents and tell us what we can and
That might
can't
be
do.
quite nice, actually.
It'd be great for me. They're
Yeah.
welcome.
The responsible parents won't be penalised by this law because they wouldn't be doing it anyway. I always remember when the information came about about passive smoking. I was quite young, and from that point, my mum used to smoke when I was younger. She always used to leave the house, and as Janet says, education is important. But then there are some parents who know the information and continue. Now, this little boy has been made ill because of the smoking. His parents have been told that because of your smoking, your child is being ill. If you came into my house and said, listen, you know, you've got to chop your legs off to help look after your children, I would do it, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for the betterment of my children. And I feel that they are irresponsible parents
they are.
if they
But
don't care that
parents,
they're making
they
their
are.
child
You
ill.
can't want every parent in Britain to conform to some stereotype of perfection.
But I can
Parents
want
come in all shapes and
every parent
sizes.
to want the best for
Yeah,
their child.
of course they do.